Yo, what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and we are going to be doing a first look and reactions to the latest video on the Call of Dragons official YouTube, titled, aptly, Developers' Future Plans. Also, before we start, just wanted to point out, how dare they have a Rise of Kingdoms poster or whatever this is in the background, disrespecting my Call of Dragons. It's a serious note, by the way. Let's continue.
Happy anniversary, Lords. Today we're in Chengdu, China, and we're taking you on an exclusive tour of the Let Gold headquarters, the dev team behind our beloved game, Call of Dragons. So in this video, we actually want to share with you some of the upcoming changes in the game and address recent feedbacks from the community. Let's go.
Okay. I definitely want to go here one day and take a tour. Oh, that's pretty cool. They got a little molding. So in the near future, you'll be able to use skill cards of the same name and star rating. Okay. I mean, consistency, great.
可以通过消耗同名同星级的技能给技能升星
To increase a skill's current star rating. Defeat Striper to unlock more. Okay. Okay.
宠物的天赋技能也同样适用于
This applies to Warpet talent skills too. Okay.
这个新规则。然后放生宠物时，将必定得到宠物已经装备。
You receive one of its equipped skills as okay. So that's nice. So now you're basically guaranteed to get a skill card. From my understanding, it was random, where sometimes you could get a skill card and you couldn't, unless that has changed. But okay. And then I think the consistency there of it lining up on the star rating and the level of the pet, or I should say the skill, that actually seems like it's a nice adjustment.
技能的其中一个技能卡，并有机会获得天赋
That
技
skill
能
card might
技
even
能
be a
卡。
talent skill. Okay.
此外，我们对宠物系统进行了精简，宠物不再需要练级和传承了，并优化了宠物。
Okay, Warpets will no longer need to inherit skills or level up. We will also be improving... Is that what that said? Warpets will no longer need to level up or inherit skills. Huh. I mean, I don't know about that. Like, I like the level up system for the Warpets because it kind of gives you that Pokemon-like feel, and you enjoy a little bit of the grind there. The inherit skills, okay.
宠物不再需要练级和传承了，并优化了宠
We will
物
also be improving the guides. Okay.
攻略
that's-
技能卡的推荐将会更加的清晰
Okay.
明了。我们希望这些调整能够让培养宠物的路径更加的可控，更加的清晰，让领主们能够更轻松的养成心仪的宠物。
Okay. Okay. I mean, I think most of the adjustments there. So let's be clear. Most of the adjustments I think on the Warpets do seem like they are going in a good direction. Listening to feedback. The one thing I'm iffy on though is the level up. Like I said, that to me there needs to be some form of grind. So I mean, and obviously there's other areas of grind, right? I just don't know if it's like because leveling up, I mean that's a big factor, big portion of your grind, and I don't know. Part of me just feels like that's a bit extreme. Again, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Ooh, Tournament of Champions. What?
大家好，我是万龙觉醒的战斗策划佳明。 我们收到了不少玩家的建议，希望可以增加一些。
Okay, this is the guy. Jiaming, if I said that right. He's the combat designer. Okay, so this is the PvP dude. Let's see what he has to say. Dude, listen, this is how dope this guy is. He's just like, dude, I'm coming plain shirt. I'm just here to work, man. We ain't trying to be fancy. I don't need to wear any, logos on my clothes. Let's get it.
一些日常的战斗玩法，来体验更多战斗与策
Oh,
略
hold
的
on, what
乐
did
趣。
you just say there? I missed it.
战斗
PvP
玩
one.
法来
Okay,
体
there was
验
no
更多
strategy.
战斗与策略的乐趣。我们十分重视这些建议，也正在紧锣密鼓的为此筹划新的
Gameplay
玩法
content
内容。
working. Okay.
这里先给大家带来一些相关
Okay.
的前瞻信息。
Sneak peek.
勇士争霸赛是
Tournament of Champions is a new
可以在
gameplay
任何
mode
时间
where players can take part in
用
1v1 battles
对抗玩
anytime, anywhere.
在勇士争霸赛中，领主们可以在战
You'll
场上
deploy
改变攻击
formations
抵御来自其
To
他
defend
的
against attacks from other players.
同时还可以随时调整自己的阵容与战术，来进攻其他的领主。值
Okay.
得一提的是，
Oh man, okay. So, I mean, this is basically Sunset Canyon from Rise of Kingdoms. Okay. Before anything else is said, personally, I don't think that you should have set formations. I think what you should have is a starting area, and then the players can decide what positioning you want to put your players in. So an example is that this should be something that's more real time, right? It shouldn't be something like this should be something that you're queuing up for against other people, and then you just make it game wide, right? So it's not specific to a certain server. This way the pool of players that could get pulled into the matchmaking is far larger than if it's just limited to your own kingdom. The reason why is this is not Rise of Kingdoms, right? This is Call of Dragons. The whole precedent that has been set is that you have real-time battles with fluid micromanaging of troops. Again, maybe they're going to talk about that, but already at face value, this to me is like a no-go, right? Like, I understand where they're going. I get it. I'm sure some people are going to enjoy it. Now, maybe you can set the formation in the beginning, and then you can still fluidly move the troops at will, okay? If that's the case, I'll take that as a consolation. But really, this needs to be a 1v1 real-time matchmaking queuing system where if like two people basically have to be online, they have to queue at the same time, and then you get matched up. This should not be some kind of like Sunset Canyon Clash of Clans type of like, you just you put your formation on offense and defense, and then you just attack and you kind of see what happens. Right? Or, you're attacking an actual player, and then their marches are getting put in defense, but only offense can actually do things. No, this needs to be real time. You have the opportunity to set the standard in the genre and do things that no one else is really doing at the level that you could be doing them at, right? Really take charge of that. So let's see though.
不同的兵种会有自己独特的作战风格，这将极大丰富玩法的策略性。也希望大家能在这个玩法中灵活运用战术与策略，获得自己想要的胜利。
Okay, so basically we don't. I just want to read that beginning part again because there was something here that they said. Here it is. You'll be able to. Okay, so you'll be able to change formations and tactics anytime to defend against attacks from other players. I just want to read the subtitles. To deploy formations to the battlefield, to defend against attacks from other players. You'll be able to change your formation tactics at any time, and launch attacks against your opponents.
值得一提的是
Okay, so
不同的兵种会有自己独特
Yeah.
的作战风格，
Okay.
这将极大丰富
so
玩法的
it's
策略性。
yeah. I mean yeah.
也希望大
Okay, so this is what I'm already thinking it's going to be, and if it is going to be that, respectfully, I just don't think that's the right direction. I think they're playing it safe, and that's not really something that is the ethos of what Call of Dragons is. That does not embody what Call of Dragons is and the standard that it's setting right now in the genre of kingdom builders. And to me, it is a little bit of a letdown, right? Do I think that people will play the mode? Of course, I'm sure people will play the mode. But it could be so much more. Right? And to me, it just feels like it's a missed opportunity. Now, again, they could always add that in the future, but that is my expectation based on the quality of the game, the standard that they've been setting, and the current in-game mechanics, the way that the PvP is already done, how it's the best PvP right now in the genre, and then you come out with something like this, it feels like we're going back, we're taking a step back instead of taking a step forward, right? But let me know what you guys think, right? Do you agree, you disagree? Right? Will you still play it? Which, again, I don't think anyone's like going to be like, no, I'm not going to play this, right? But, again, would you have loved to seen something like what I'm describing? Because you feel like that really would embody where Call of Dragons is? Or are you like, no, you know what, that's too much, this is totally fine? Let me know. I want to point out, and most people in here know, I've been a huge advocate and a huge proponent of hoping that they would add home kingdoms because of just the general inherent benefits that it gives. And I'm just going to name a couple, right? And he already alluded to it, right? The fact that you don't have to worry about having kind of this new standard or this new station kingdom, right? If you want to call it kind of your home kingdom that you're resetting to every season, you have a place that you can consistently play at, which also factors into stability, right? If you're looking to have home kingdom stability, meaning you can grow your home kingdom base or your player base, it allows for you to interact with people. So number one, it gives you stability. Number two, and that's just because you get to interact with the same people every single day in the same alliances and the same management teams and the same leads, that lends itself to stability. Number two is that you get to actually have access to things like home kingdom leaderboards, right? This is paramount because now you're able to see how is your home kingdom developing potentially versus or comparing to others. You also get to assess and analyze how players in your home kingdom are they, again, do you have people that are kind of working their way up the boards? Are people, if you need to find out all the alliances that exist there, so you can kind of tally and basically organize and structure out. Just knowing who exists there versus not, because remember, when you go into other KVKs, you don't know everyone that's in your home kingdom unless you verify everyone before during the migration window towards the end of the season, which again doesn't happen until season 2, so you wouldn't be able to do it in season 1 anyways. But now you're able to know who's there, right? So to me, that's like number two. Number two really is that you have access to home kingdom leaderboards, and then number three is that you have access to knowing who's actually in the kingdom, right? Because again, you can look at the boards and you could say, okay, here's all the alliances, and because I have access to all the alliances, I can go through the member list and I can look at every single player that's actually in my home kingdom compared to when you're in a KVK, the leaderboard is blending, right? So my thing on this is that they should have a home kingdom leaderboard and a KVK leaderboard when you're in KVK, right? Or if your KVK is active, then it should just show both, right? So like if when you go into your season 2, regardless if you're in the home kingdom or if you're in the KVK, you should have access to both boards. They should just be active at all times, right? Where the home kingdom board is active always, and then the only one that rotates is the seasonal board based on the current KVK season that you're in. This way it makes it so much easier, and I hope they do this, because Infinity Kingdom did this where they gave you access to a KVK leaderboard, and then you always had access to the home kingdom leaderboard at all times. I mean, it's such an amazing feature. I hope they eventually implement this. So, anyways, these are just some benefits. The other thing is that you're able to kind of know who's coming in and who's potentially leaving, right? Through things like migration, you have a little bit of a clearer picture from this, because then you're able to actually see those accounts in game. One of the other benefits, right, in your home kingdom, right, because you'll be able to see the cities that are there. And then that's number 4. Number 5, this last one I'll give you, is that one of the other benefits is that it allows for you to build and nurture your community in a lot more efficient ways. And one example of this is that you can go out and look at all the cities that are within your home kingdom, and you can basically give some TLC, that tender love and care, right? You can reach out to people that are either allianceless, or they're in low-powered alliances, or inactive alliances, and you can try to reach out to them and communicate and say, hey, would you, we'd love to get you a spot in a more active alliance, right? It allows for you to treat people more than just kind of numbers on a spreadsheet, and you're able to interact with them and engage with them in a way that shows that you know what, you really care about these people, and it also then can translate into having more average activity in your kingdom, right? Again, this is some work you have to put in, and I'm obviously not naming everything, but I just want to say I'm excited about home kingdoms. I think there's a lot of value in them, even beyond what I'm just explaining right now. Let's continue.
Plan to launch the cross-server migration feature in the third quarter of 2024.
Oh, okay. So that's important. So this is going to be Q3, which means that it could be between month 6 and month 9. Right? So they said that in May, right? Remember, we're at the end of March. We're about to go into April. So we have probably a month and a half until we get home kingdoms that come in, which is probably going to be the next update. And then Q3 is probably going to be the second, maybe at earliest, update from now. And then that's going to be, because we're January, February, March, April, May, June. So that'll be between June and September, right, that we're going to get cross-season. Now that, I mean, they're pushing it, right? We were hoping it was going to happen in the next update. So it looks like it'll be home kingdoms first, then cross-season, which means that crossover migration, which means at this point, we're probably looking at, I mean, if you think of like where the T1 season is right now, I think there's about 2.5 weeks, a little bit less than that, until the Titans Legacy finishes. So you're probably looking at about 3 weeks, give or take, until the end of season timeline hits. So probably anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks, I'd estimate, until the T1 season goes into its season reset and they go into a new one. So that means once they get to the next season, that's when home kingdom. So you probably have 2 seasons away from now. I'm estimating, of course. I would say 2 to 3 seasons from now until we get cross-season migration, but it'll be next season, at least for those that are in T1, and again, right, until you end up seeing home kingdom. I mean, listen, man, that's all we asked for. It's just give us some heads up notice, you know?
嗨，大家好，我是万龙觉醒的美术。
Simon!
我们万龙觉醒的新势力正在筹备中，未来将会和大家见
New
面。
faction!
我们即将加入的新种族也在概念设计中。古老的东方神话给了我们这次创作的。
Okay, is it going to be the dwarves?
我们选取了一些标志性的形象和符号，想要还原出一个非常美妙的东方幻境。这些被神选中的守护者，履行着与神缔结的漫长誓言。他们呢，或顺其自然，或自信仁者无敌。而当我们与他们相遇时，或许就会见证誓言的终点，命运的结局。那同时呢，我们也在游戏中紧锣密鼓地筹备 S3 相关的一些内容，会有与新势力相契合的全新风格地图场景呈现给大家。还有作战关卡，
So we got the new map, new faction.
大且丰富的角色群像，各式各样的冒险伙伴，等待挑战的精英巨兽等。
Oh, new behemoths
我
possibly?
们已经接近概念探索的尾声了。由于 S3 世界的庞大和它的多样性，等待咱们玩家体验的内容会非常的丰富。我们正在加紧推进开发制作的进度，希望到时你们能够喜欢。
We've collected a few suggestions.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't look like they're going to show anything as far as the new map, which is okay, because I mean that's pretty consistent with what we usually have been seeing, right? Most of the time we'll have to wait for it to drop for whatever kingdom pools are going to be going into that season first, right? And then we'll be able to do it very similarly to when I had live streamed or had showed season 2. I think I was the only creator at that time that did this because, again, as most people know, I have accounts in every single kingdom. So I was able to kind of get a first look. I think that was 155 through 173, 174, something like that. That ended up going into that new S2 Plus first, and then later on we had the groups, those first 3 groups that went into T1. So this is in line with that, right? This isn't really out of the range. But we know that there's the new map. It's going to be an all-new map. We know there's more content coming. New faction. And we know that there's going to be the... Oh, gosh, what was the third one that he said there that I'm already blanking on? I'm sure it'll come back to me. Short-term memory loss is a real thing, kids. Okay, hey, let's continue.
From the community, and today our producer Xiaofu is here to answer them.
Oh, okay. Ooh. Okay, yo, dude. So this is something. Oh, okay. I want to point this. I don't know if they're doing this question because I have been like a big advocate for this. But this, I just want to point out, this is great. That I appreciate them answering some of the harder questions. Now, I hope the answer they give, regardless if they're going to do it or not, is going to at least be detailed enough and spoken from their viewpoint as developers, right? That's all we're asking for. But this is, I just want to point, this is pretty cool because I mean, other people have said this as well, but to my knowledge, I have always been one of the first people that, from what I've seen, that has been a very big proponent of wanting to see this happen. And to be clear, this is, so starting zones, what they're referring to is you having, as a kingdom, having a dedicated zone 1 that your kingdom goes to. This is very similar to Rise of Kingdoms for how this plays out compared to the system now, where alliances can pick where they go. This will kind of be weird as well to an extent, because when home kingdoms are introduced, you're going to have alliances that'll just choose to kind of go wherever they want compared to all kind of going to the same starting zone. But the other challenge is that then you can have other alliances from other kingdoms go to the same exact starting zones. So, basically the way that you navigate this is you go and you communicate with other kingdoms, and you get into like a Discord group, or you make a server with these other alliances and leads or management teams, and you kind of hash out some of these details before a season starts, right? This is how a lot of efficient top alliances will do this when it comes to kind of your, KVK diplomacy that you're conducting. So again, let's see what happens.
我们理解玩家的诉求，后续会开发原大陆系统，赛季匹配将会根据玩家所在。
Okay.
初始归属地区，不同
affiliated regions will not be able to change. Okay. Oh. Okay, so this actually feels like they're gonna do it then, right? I'm not crazy. Let's go. So following player feedback, we're working on developing a home server. Okay, a home server system. Okay, we're starting. Affiliated regions will be allocated to players during season matchmaking on the basis of their power in the current server. Players from different affiliated regions will not be able to change their... Oh, wow. So now they're just saying you can't change the starting zone at all. Okay. This is interesting because part of it reads to me that they're going to make it so home kingdoms, players that are from that home kingdom, will have a designated starting region. But part of what was said here where it's... Where is it? So we're working on developing a home server system. This one is the thing that got me, right? We're starting affiliated regions will be allocated to players during season matchmaking this is the thing, on the basis of their power in the current server. Like that, I don't understand that, because typically if you're going to have a home kingdom starting zone, then what that means is that, like, let's say your kingdom, let's say Kingdom 85 is in a new season KVK, and they're designated Kaltia, as an example. What this means is that all of those players can go into Kaltia, right? So the limit on that starting zone 1 is based on that kingdom's current activity, right? Meaning that regardless of how many people can fit in there, that region is going to be able to accommodate them. So, I mean, that's how you would imagine it would work. So, but this is iffy to me. I'm going to have to ask for some clarification here, because, I mean, it does say here, you're working on developing a home server system where starting affiliated regions will be allocated to players based on, from different regions, from different affiliated, players from different affiliated, right? But they can't go. Yeah, this is the one where it says, okay. So, it just, part of it feels like, okay, does that mean that you're going to put other players from other kingdoms in that home starting server based on power? It's going to be kind of a mosh pit? I hope it's not that. I hope it's very straightforward, and it's just, look, if you're, and bear in mind, You try this out, you see how it works, but I do very much hope that it's going to be, if I'm in Kingdom 85 and we have 5,000 active players there, all 5,000 active players are designated to go to Kaltia, and that's where you go, right? And that the region needs to be adjusted so that way the size of those regions can fit all of those players. So if the maps need to be adjusted, if the starting zones need to be bigger, whatever it may be, if the map needs to be increased, size, whatever, like that, those things need to be accommodated. But again, that's how I'd like to see it be done, at least tested first. And then again, you can always make adjustments, changes afterwards. So yeah, this is, I mean, let me know if you guys are reading this differently. Are you reading it kind of the same way I am? Or it's like, okay, now you're kind of seeing where the potential caution could be. Let's continue. Right, let's go to the next question, which I think is right after this.
不可随意更换。
Are there any plans for ROW season
上次
tournaments?
海拉夫尔之战的调研
Yeah.
是我们收到反馈有史以来最多的一次。
Oh, that's nice. So more
感谢
feedback.
大家对海拉夫尔之战的热爱。我们会在调研的基础上进
To
行
its
针对
gameplay
性
based on
优
the
化
feedback received.
并且打算
We are
邀请
planning an
更
open
多
route to
的
war.
人
Oh, we're planning to open route to war to more alliances. Okay.
其中也会开放
And allow
玩家
players to participate as
以各自
individuals
组队
and in teams. Oh,
海拉夫尔之战
that's interesting. So it's almost like if you want to play ROW, you can kind of just pick like a pickup squad. Right? I actually think that's a kind of cool idea, if that's what they mean. Meaning, like, if you have people from different alliances and everybody just wants to, like, join the same ROW team just to compete, I actually think that's great. Personally, again, if you're asking me, that's the way I think. I think it should be fluid, right? Like, I think you should be able to make ROW teams based on the kingdom, not based on individual alliances. Because doing it that way, right, you could still have someone that creates the team, and then they're just the people who accept, right? So you could still, even if you just want to only make a team from players from your alliances, that's fine. If this is the direction they're going, I actually think this is absolutely fantastic, because what they're doing is they're removing this like made up rule that you have to only join an ROW team from your alliance. Instead, remove that restriction entirely and just make the ROW teams kingdom wide. So someone creates the team, right? It doesn't cost anything. You just create the team, and then you invite the people that you want to invite, or people can apply to that team and you can accept or deny them. This way, it's kingdom wide. It's not alliance specific. That to me, I think, is the future of the way to do it. And I think it would actually be a ginormous improvement on the health and the sustainability of ROW in a kingdom, because more people would most likely be able to engage and participate. I also think adding things in, such as being able to craft an ROW plan, like a Roots of War game plan, right? Where, as an example, you can maybe have like a board, right? Similar to sports, right? Where you have like a board and you can draw up your plays. I think it would be awesome if you could almost have like those kinds of things where it's slides that you can create, and then the people who are on that roster can go and access the slide. So the slide could be, this is how we start. This is the game plan. These are our objectives, right? And you can kind of write these things out on, okay, hey, if you're refreshing your legions, right, and we have this objective, then you're moving on to objective 2. Like almost like a simple PowerPoint, something like that you could create with visual aids. So an example is you'd have the overview of the map, and then you can like make notes on the specific objectives. And then on that slide, you can have like a step-by-step off to the side that players can read, and they can translate those to their own language. Like, dude, I think Roots of War is fantastic, but what they also need to do is add a spectating feature that is beyond just only being able to spectate from the Alliance, right? And maybe they're going to cover that, but from someone like me as a content creator, I would love to watch ROW matches and then commentate over them, provide analysis, and then be able to upload those as actual matches. But right now I can only watch ROW matches based on the alliance that I'm in, and I love that they've at least expanded that. But let's take it a step further and be able to, as an example, maybe there's like an ROW archive or a library you guys make, even if you're just starting off simple and you don't want to make it, and eventually you can add in where people can watch matches live, but maybe with like a 5-minute delay timer on, right? Similar to kind of the delay timer they have currently. But maybe you have an archive of like, hey, here's the top matches, right? That from like the top 100 teams or something, like you keep it simple, and you just upload the VOD so that way people can watch the replays, right? That would be dope. And you just do it in the ROW section. You just have a library, and then you just show the matches from the last weekend. Like, and that would allow for me and other content creators to promote ROW a lot more. because we could go in there and rewatch these and then upload them. So yeah, it's just, again, man, there's a lot of really cool things I think they can do with ROW. I'm only naming a few, but yeah, we'll see. Sorry, I'm like so passionate right now. Like, I love these kinds of videos. Oh, they're gonna do an ROW championship. Did you guys see that? We have plans to begin holding ROW championship. Dude, if that's the case, hire your boy, because I will totally host that and co-host that with anyone, man. I think being able to watch those matches, absolutely fantastic. Like I said, hopefully that is like a trigger, like an entry point into them doing a bit more with ROW, because, man, I would love to do stuff like that. Can village buffs be changed from individual to alliance-wide buffs? Dude, they're answering. I want to point out, man, they're answering really good questions. So far, this is absolutely the best Q&A that they have done, just based on these first 3 questions, because they're picking questions that we want answers to, right? And that a lot of people have been advocating for. Okay, I'm back.
我们理解大家诉求的源头，已经在 1.0.22 版本增加了村庄占领者的数量上限，同时也会在接下来的运营大陆系统中加入军团功能。玩家可以通过组建军团的方式来共享观点，共享魔兽争议。
Wow, so they're going to be able to. Wow, so you'll be able to create warbands to share pass and behemoth buffs. That's new, because back when unions were first introduced, you actually used to be able to have 3 alliances as a union in Season 1. They changed this going into Season 1 Plus, and limited it back down to, I think they either took the unions away entirely, and then people were advocating for it so much that they added them back, but only where you can have 1 union partner, right, is basically what everyone knows now. And so, if they're allowing, but I don't believe you got behemoth buffs from being in a union, to my knowledge. Could be wrong there. But if that is not the case, then I actually think that could be a cool thing, where if you're adding a behemoth buff on the union, it almost allows more people to get them. However, you could also make the argument that you just add in more behemoths, and then other alliances can get those as well. Because this could turn into like one of those piggyback things, so to speak, which isn't a bad thing, so to speak, but more of like you could have like the number 1 alliance who allies with the number 8 alliance, right? So they can get those buffs. Number 2 allies with 7, number 3 allies with 6, 4 and 5, right? You kind of see where I'm going with that. Now, this could also allow for more alliances to get through passes through a union, because this is also something that, again, if they're saying this is also going to be applied to KVK, remember what we saw in the T1 season, or sorry, what we saw in the S2 Plus season and in S2, where you needed to have a behemoth occupied. I mean, this is very exacerbated in Season 2 Plus, but you needed to have a behemoth captured in Zone 3 before you could make it into Zone, in order to attack the pass and get into Zone 4. So if you did not have a behemoth, and we're talking 4, 5, 6 billion power alliances were not able to get into the final zone just simply because they did not have a behemoth lair captured. Now, there were some workarounds to this, where you could have an alliance capture it, and then another alliance could attack it afterwards, if it was afterwards or however long after, and the behemoth would be a little bit weakened, so it'd be easier to capture. But really, we're talking about being able to capture a behemoth at face value, right on the initial raid. And so, if this is going to change, I do think this is a win, right? If they're going to allow for you to share passes, it's not going to be a hard prerequisite on every alliance has to have their own, and the union will be a way to get other alliances in. That's great. But like I said, the other way to do it is you just make more behemoths, and that could be another way to address it as well. So we'll see.
也可以在军团领土上自由迁移城市，进行联盟间的支援，更换联盟的需求将会大幅减小。
Whoa.
大家失去村庄争议的可能性。
Whoa. Dude, they're like throwing in a lot of stuff here. I really wish they broke this up.
共享魔兽争议，也可以在军团。
In addition to the cost of relocating your city to Alliance territory, providing reinforcements between alliances or changing alliances will be greatly reduced. Wow. So let's make sure we have this right. So the costs, okay, so specifically the costs of relocating to Alliance territory, providing reinforcements between alliances. I would assume that means changing alliances or changing alliances. Wow. So they're going to limit how now even more how much changing between alliances you can do. I mean, remember, I mean, this started in Season 2, right? Where there was a number of people, I don't know how many, but I don't even want to say a number, I should say some people, right? That started advocating for this, right? I mean, let's be real, right? Chisgul was one of the people that was very much talking about this kind of during the quote-unquote betrayal meta that he had coined, and, you know, was an advocate for what we heard and what we saw as far as, you know, not being able to kind of change alliances and territory, etc. And other people had mentioned this as well. And so now it almost feels like, okay, they're investing more, kind of doubling down more on this. I wish they gave a little bit more details on, like, why, right? I think that's some of the most important parts, is kind of giving the reasoning and the justification, not just saying what the change is. And it is a bit unfortunate because there's been multiple opportunities during this video where they could have done that and given us an explanation, you know, or just, you know, some perspective, and it hasn't happened, right? And that's one of the things we often have talked about, which is give us some reasoning here. And it's like consistently, we just rarely get that, right? There are times where we do, but this is definitely one of those times where it needed to happen, and it just doesn't look like it really is.
需求将会大幅减小，大家失去村庄
Of losing village buffs will also be reduced. Ooh, wow. The possibility of losing village buffs will also be reduced. Okay, so basically the summary, I want to point out here, they gave answers. They gave like 2 to 3 other answers that were not related to what the initial question was. The initial question is, are you planning to revert the changes from individual village buffs to just alliance-wide buffs when you capture? The short answer, it looks like, is no, right? And I want to point something out, right? And they mentioned with like limitation. Let me explain something here. Like, and this is something I think there's a huge disconnect between the developer's understanding of this and where the community is coming from. And this is something that you really would not be able to understand unless you are an alliance leader or you're an alliance officer of an active, and you could argue successful to any degree of an alliance, but let's just say active is the foundational prerequisite. What is happening is that you have a number of players that played in the era where you had village-wide buffs, and there was nothing wrong with that. Keep in mind, no one, and I mean no one in any sense of a majority, of a large amount of people, advocated for this change to happen. There was nothing wrong with the previous system at all. Now, if there was something wrong, or if there was a large amount of people that were advocating for this, we would love to hear about it. That is what the community would like to know. Because as it stands, there's no justifiable reason for changing this, outside of just really causing more pain for the alliance management teams. And let me explain why. So as a leader and as an officer, now that you have limitations or occupation limitations on villages, on village buffs, you now have to do a lot of extra workload. Let me break this down. You have to, 1, scout out villages, so you can figure out which buffs are the ones that people are most likely going to be most interested in wanting to get. Number 2, you have to then audit your player base, your membership, your members, in order to figure out who you may want to prioritize as who gets a buff first. Then number 3, you have to ask these people if they want the buff or if they're willing to pass on it, and then you have to fill in someone else to that slot. Number 4, you then have to deal with what happens if you have a very active alliance where you have more than the village occupations limit of fighters. So an example, let's say you have a 60 occupation limit on a village buff, but you have 120 people that are fighting all the time. 120 people in this scenario are worthy of that village buff, especially if it's a stamina recovery speed. Right, something that's obviously very important, or if it's elixir recovery speed. And again, these are just some examples. And so what happens now is you end up creating this rift where now, number 5, you have players that are going to be complaining to their management teams on, okay, well, why am I not more deserving than this other player? you know, or this sucks, I really want this buff. Maybe they'll consider leaving and joining another alliance just so they can get that buff. Or they're just going to get general complaints on, oh, well, this person, I haven't seen them talk and chat for that long. Are they even active, right? You should kick them off. Let me get that buff. Any number of complaints can happen. And what does this do? Number 6, this puts stress, unneeded stress, on the alliance management teams. Psychological stress. And I'm only naming some things here, but this is one of those things where, as a developer, it appears that there is a disconnect between a full scope of understanding on what a community is going through and the players are going through versus the change that is being made for whatever reason that the developers opted to make it. And I'll give you a great solution to this. Just come and have a sit down with your boy BN, right? Have an open discussion about these things, and these explanations and reasonings can be explained. I mean, heck, have a sit down conversation with a number of people, and these things can be explained. This is not a benefit. This is a disservice. You are creating more work, more workload, and more unneeded psychological pressure onto the alliance management teams, which, let's be very clear here, alliance management teams are the make or break for whether a game will be successful or not. Why is that the case? Because the majority of players, 99.9% of all players that play any kingdom builder, are usually going to be joining an alliance or a guild. So the argument can be made that the most amount of support and tool utilization should be given to alliance management teams and the way that they go about managing those alliances, right? When if you're really caring about the player base, you need to make these people's jobs easier, not harder, right? Let's work smarter, not harder. So anyways, I hope that gives an explanation there. It's something I'm very passionate about from again, leading alliances, being officers in multiple alliances across multiple games. I just, if there's anyone out there that is advocating and being like, oh yeah, this village buff change from everyone gets it. Now, let me be clear here. I am okay as well if you want to change it from just all the members of an alliance passively get the buff to where individuals then have to go out and do some kind of action on the village in order to get the buff. But there needs to be no limit. So I'm okay if you just want to make it a little more grindy, so to speak. You just want to add an extra hoop or two to jump through, but just don't put a limit on it. Okay, let's continue. Some players are falling behind drastically. PvP, behemoths, etc. Is there a plan to retain these players via changes? So I think really where they're getting at here is that as seasons continue and as troop capacity increases, you're having players, obviously, and we're really more so talking about the free-to-play low spend here, that are not able to capture behemoths at a certain level, right? And that's just obviously because as the behemoth power increases, right, they're most likely what their plan was is we'll just increase troop capacity. But the challenge is that if you're a free-to-play low spend and your troop capacity is being increased from season to season to season, which is what they were doing before. Remember, there was that big uproar, and they ended up going from whatever it was, like 400 back to 325, or it was something around that, right? That was the latest one. And so, really, and I've said this before, this to me is how it should be. As a pure free-to-play player, you should be able to capture every single behemoth and see if you have a full free-to-play alliance. And again, as long as they're active and they're progressing, you should be able to capture every single behemoth for the vanilla raid, right? The first raid. The elite raid is different. That should be something where you need to be a lot stronger to do that. But you have to think of it like this. You have content in Season 1. Season 1, the first season. Why are you only allowing for less than 50% of that content to actually be enjoyed by the player base? Right? Realistically, if you did not have people that spent in the game, you may only be able to work your way up to like the Thunder Rock or the Hydra, right? As a full, pure free-to-play alliance. And I'm probably being gracious there with the Hydra, right? But that means you miss out on the Necro, you miss out on the Magma, you miss out on the Flame Dragon. I think that's and the no. I think that's everything. Unless there's the Dire Bear 2 in there, right, for season 1. So let's just say 4 behemoths, give or take 1. Where if you have a full free-to-play alliance season 1, you're missing out on half of the behemoths, right? Because you're not strong enough to capture them. That to me is a pure game design flaw. You should not limit the amount of base content. We're not talking about add-on content. An elite raid for a behemoth is not base content. That is additional content. That's not a main storyline. That's a side mission, right? You should at least allow every single player, because remember, free-to-play, anyone that's above free-to-play is obviously included, right? So if I say free-to-play, everyone that, if you're low spend or you spend any amount of money, you're obviously already included in that. But the idea here is that you need to be able to you should be able to have that opportunity to defeat every single behemoth in every single season. And that's how it needs to be tuned. And that's why a lot of people were in uproars, and I've said this before, right? The fact is that they're increasing the troop capacity limits by too much. You need to look at the data for what someone who's a free-to-play, really, some people who don't spend, because they have to know. They have to have that data on who is spending and who's not spending money. And so you need to look at what is the average amount of troops that are being trained every season on average, right? From people that spend versus those that don't spend, or if you can break the tiers up. And then you just should be looking at it for people that don't spend, right? Because anyone that does spend is more likely to have more troops than that. And so you need to kind of look at designing things from a free-to-play mindset, because keep in mind, anyone that spends is just going to do things faster. That's all it is. And so, again, that's my view on behemoths, on the troop capacity changes. I mean, listen, man, free-to-play, even in Season 2, right, you probably don't have a majority of free-to-play players that can field 5 marches at that max troop capacity when it increases, right, for whatever it is, 125 to 250. Like, the fact that it increases double is crazy to me. It's wild. Like, where's the data that's supporting that? And so, again, being transparent with this would be lovely. Like, if they came out and they said, look, the average amount of troops that we're seeing being trained per season from free-to-play players is 1.2 million, right? Okay, if you look at that based on having 125 troop cap, right, that comes out to, 625, right? So that means they could field 2 back-to-back full marches of 5 legions. Okay, I mean, that would last you maybe 5 minutes in war. If you're at the front lines, it would probably last you... Yeah, I'd say about that, a few minutes to 5 minutes in war, maybe 5 to 10 minutes if you want to be gracious, right? And then you're done until you have to heal, right at that point. So it's like you really have to put these things into perspective for people to understand, right? Anyways, those are my views. Let's see what their answer is. Okay, so I just want to point out something here. Well, I'm really confused here, because that didn't even answer the question. Let me go back here. Some players are falling behind drastically. Is there a plan to retain these players via changes? Right, and drastically, it basically just means being able to, like I said, enjoy content, and also because of their rate of growth, right, and the troop capacity changes, right. These are some of the biggest factors. So it says games with fellow players. We will also continue to pay attention to the game balance. Okay, so they're going to add in more activity-based events. Okay. And I guess that should be directed at players, as well as introducing diverse selection of heroes and artifacts. So I want to point out something here. My view on how heroes and artifacts, especially those that are pay-gated, whether that is by money or by gems, need to have a set time that they are put into those areas, and then after that time has elapsed, they need to go into the tavern, so you can add them to gold chest, and then you can add them to whatever the base artifact pool is, right, if you're doing 10 pulls on those. And the reason I say this is because you want to try and balance out the people that are spending to be able, like, you almost have to view it as, see, like right now it's exclusive access, and that's the wrong way to do it, right? I understand why they're doing it, but you will get a lot more value in the long run if you strike a healthier balance, right? Because right now there is no balance in heroes that you have to spend to get, and then the ones that you can get by not spending, right? Because you clearly have drawn a line to where you can only get heroes if you do this, and then there's these heroes that are available to everyone, and that everyone can get. That's not any kind of balance. Balance would be, and I'll give you a great example here. You do it where if you're going to release a hero and you want to have that hero be paywall gated, whether it's by money or by gems, right? And really we're talking money to be specific here. You allow that hero to be introduced and you say, okay, after this hero has been out for 2 months, you could even say for the whole season, then the next season and beyond, that hero, you could still spend money on the hero, but the hero will, in addition, be added to the tavern. So you can get those heroes in gold chest. Meaning that after 2 to 3 months, every hero that's introduced, even if that hero happens to be where you can only attain them from spending money, will eventually be added to the gold chests. Or they'll eventually be added to the artifact chest, right, that you can get. So where you can get all of those, right? That is the way that it should be. I'd love to hear what people think about that, because to me, that strikes more balance than the way that this is currently. And bear in mind, it's not like Call of Dragons is, doing anything differently in this department from a lot of other kingdom builders. These are pretty standard practices. But they could be better, and players would appreciate that. Okay.
和宝物来平衡玩家间的实力。
Okay. I love how they mentioned rock. More events are needed and at a faster pace. Will any rock events be carried over? So this, I think, is actually pretty spot on. We've talked about how they do need to add more events. Now, I don't want to see them add 10 or 20 events all at once, but I do think adding at least 1 new event each update, or even 2 new events each update, I think is not out of the realm of realism, right, or realistic expectation. That, unfortunately, just hasn't been happening. I think there was 1 new event that was added, but typically for anniversary, these kinds of seasonal events, that's really what they are. They're like temporary events, right? They're not necessarily standard where they're going to be there forever, right?
与 ROK 的体力系
Oh, hang on. Whoa, hold up. He just said, we'll continue to bring more events to all players.
由于命令点
Due to the differences between the command point system and Rock's action point system,
一些
there are some events that we simply cannot directly carry over. Okay.
大
Now, I want to point out, I wish they gave an example of saying, here's an example of an event that does not make sense for us to carry over because of these reasons. Once again, explanations are important. This is how we as a community get insight into what your thinking is. Otherwise, we have no idea. And all it comes off as is, oh yeah, no, we're good. No, sorry. Oh, thanks for your feedback. No, it's okay. Next question. Oh, no, thank you. We'll take that. Okay, next question. That's how it appears. That's how it comes off. And I understand that there can be regional and, I guess regional is probably the best way, right? There could be regional differences in how people from one country or one area of the world speak, how they interpret, how they comprehend, how they understand something, their tone, how they come across, different cultures and how they treat and how they deliver information. I understand there's differences there. But I do hope that it's important, or I should say it is important for us to be able to convey how these things appear to us and why it is not a good look. So if anything, I hope that can at least be conveyed, again, in a respectful way. Let's continue.
我们会尽量将一些好的设计移植到 COD 的世界中。
Yeah, and I want to point out one example of revamping an event is like the that we've talked about would be like bringing the barbarian keeps here, barbarian raids, right? Well, basically it's an area on the map where you have to attack barbarians, right? Or in this case, you would attack darklings, and then you'd have like some towers and stuff that maybe you have to rally or you have to swarm, and it's like an objective-based thing on the map, and then it resets at certain intervals, and you can kind of keep doing those. That would, I think, be a good example of something you can port over that makes sense, right? You just have to kind of attune it to COD.
我们一直重视大家的反馈，未来希望能与大家有更密切的交流，因此我们即将推出英雄共创计划，
Whoa!
邀请大家一同
Whoa! Did you guys see that? Hold up.
交流，因此我们即将推出英雄共
A hero co-create event in the near future. Oh, cool!
计划，邀请大家
Inviting all those to participate in the creation of certain heroes. Oh, okay.
做投票和建议。
I mean, even if they just ask some people for feedback on heroes, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, right? But if they're going to do something where it's like, oh, hey, we'll bring people in and kind of ask them what heroes would they like to see, maybe get some ideas on skills. I mean, again, man, there's some really creative people out there that have that could really put together, I think, some banging heroes and some balanced and kind of fair skills off the rip. So let's continue.
来共同打造大家喜欢的英雄。我们十分感谢大家1年来的陪伴，也会在未来继续
Our boy Sluggers!
为大家带来更
Oh,
好的
there's Shiz.
内容。为了回馈大家的
Oh, this is from the meetup.
我们准备了一份福利，输入屏幕下方的礼包码。
Oh, enter the gift code at the bottom of the screen to redeem it. Okay. So I'm going to do this. I think I have one of my instances up. So we'll do this here in a sec. We'll finish. Let's finish the video and then we'll come back. And I'll show you guys what you
还
get.
要感谢大家提供的万龙觉醒生日蛋糕创意。听说实体蛋糕正在制作中，期待在下一个视频中与大家见面。
Awesome.
As we wrap up our tour, we want to thank you for being part of our amazing community. Your support means the world to us. Happy anniversary, and here's to many more adventures in Call of Dragons.
I better get some bloopers. I don't care. I don't care if this is a serious video. How dare you? How dare you people not give me my bloopers? I am offended. Okay, where is it? Here we go. Okay, so here's the gift code. I am going... Oh, whatever. I'll enter it on one of my scouts. It's not going to change anything. And then I'm going to move this over. So let's go to redeem gifts. Let's type in this promo. D25, and I'll show you guys what you get. Exu 8F3IY. Did I do this right? Okay, cool. Here. Let's do this. I'm going to bring this over. Let's switch the screen up. Oh, I was already doing it. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so here it is. So here's the gift code. Do I have this? Okay, that's cool. Let's see what it is. Okay, it worked. I actually could type things in correctly. Okay, this is it. Yeah, so you get a gold key, 3 60-minute training speed ups, and 2 60 minutes. Okay, cool. Hey, man, take what you get. So I just want to say, I think in conclusion, with the update, I think there's some great stuff. I think there's some great stuff that's coming our way that we have. Like I said, I think there's some things to be somewhat cautious about, which I think is just fair to say. I would have loved for them to give some more explanations. Like I said, as I mentioned that before, I think those are some missed opportunities. Hopefully they can work on that and introduce that style of additional detail right in future videos, because clearly there was the opportunity for them to do that. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I mean, again, am I a little bummed out that cross-server migration is going to be delayed until Q3? I am. But if it's a difference between them needing more time to get it right, I'm okay with that. And then hopefully we'll get bits and pieces as we go. I am happy that at least they're keeping Home Kingdoms on track. And then obviously with things like Season 3, right, it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting that on this update, but we'll probably hear more on that after the upcoming update, or maybe around that time, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be coming out. So it seems like right now the biggest thing that we know based on what they've said that we're able to look forward to is Home Kingdoms being added in the next update come May. Okie dokie. That's it for me. Like I said, I think still a relatively net positive developer future plan video. And yeah, man, I mean, this is great. Hopefully when they do the next one, man, I can fly out there. That'd be so dope. Anyways, I'm almost at like an hour here. I mean, this is such a great video. I hope you guys enjoyed my takes and my thoughts sharing, because there was a lot to cover in here. There was some nice Easter eggs, some little kind of, you have to read in between the lines just to make sure you're kind of, getting what it is. And I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you guys think this is more of a kind of a net positive? Are you a little bit more on the line? Are you like, man, this could have been, I was maybe hoping and expecting more. What did you like most about this? Let me know. Anything and everything in the comments down below. As always, until next time, I'll catch y'all later.